Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the program. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a movie from 1962 that tells the story of a surgeon who brought his work home with him a little bit too much. It's The Brain That Wouldn't Die. And if you couldn't tell from the poster, this thing is pretty weird. So, I'll give it points for that. That's for sure. The movie starts in this operating room where Dr. Kortner has just lost a patient. But suddenly, his son, Bill, wants to try his own method.
You did everything possible, everything you could, Dr. Corey.
Everything. Everything except save my patient.
Everything in the books.
See, this is why I like Bill. He thinks outside the box. He doesn't care what the typical procedure is. Sometimes you can't do things by the book, especially when it comes to surgery. I mean, this is life and death, goddammit. You gotta improvise a bit. You know, roll up your sleeves, take the gloves off, get your hands right in there. Actually, you're gonna wanna keep your gloves on, probably, for a number of reasons. But still, you know, don't be afraid to just get in there.
Now, Dad, do I have permission to take over and try things my way?
The operating room is no place to experiment.
He's dead. I can't do any harm.
Yeah, he's just a slab of meat at this point anyways, so what's the worst that could happen? Let him get in there and fool around a bit. Start connecting stuff that doesn't normally connect. Play a little Tetris in the chest cavity, who knows?
Apply 100 milliamps of current directly to the heart, then massage by hand. I'll handle the brain area.
By yourself?
By myself.
Okay, wait, hang on a sec. So, we're reviving this guy now? That might be a problem because I just cut off his hand and I was going to make a little joke. I was going to wait until you explained, you know, how you were going to cut him up, and I was just going to say, well, yeah, I can give you a hand with that. I mean, yeah, it's not funny now, but in the moment, it totally would have landed. So it turns out that Bill's experimenting has worked, and the patient is alive again. So they wheel him out and into the recovery room where I hope they give him some nice drugs. But Bill's father is not happy with what just happened. He's like, what about the after effects? Did you think of that? We don't explore or experiment on people here. We let them die and then tell the family there was nothing we could do. I'm sure they would be much happier knowing that their family member is dead rather than alive because we just decided to wing it on the operating table. Bill is all about transplants. He wants medical science to get to the point where they can transplant anything seamlessly. But his dad is just too old school. He's like, that's never gonna happen, Bill. Nuh-uh. And Bill's like, yeah-huh. Bill's fiance, Jan, comes in and tells him how amazing that whole thing was. So I guess this is one big family affair, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, imagine those family dinner conversations. At like Thanksgiving and shit. Like, just imagine that. The three of them sitting around the table talking in detail about these surgeries. Meanwhile, everybody else lost their appetite 20 minutes ago. That would suck. Like, hey, can you please pass the stuffing? Hey, you want to know what we stuffed the other day?
But I can't cover up for you anymore. The superintendent had it out with me. He thinks it's you who's been stealing those limbs from the amputee operations.
Wait, so Bill's been stealing body parts to practice transplants? This guy's taken the whole weekend garage project to a totally new level. His neighbors are like working on their lawnmowers and shit, and he's like, check this out, it's a hand with all thumbs. Imagine the grip you could get with this thing. And I'm sorry, but how do you even cover that up in the first place with the superintendent? Like, the superintendent comes in and is like, yeah, so it says here you amputated somebody's leg this afternoon, and apparently that leg is missing. And what, this guy is just like, oh yeah, we totally, now that I think about it, we definitely cut somebody's leg off this afternoon. We're gonna look for it though. I mean, it's so easy for stuff to get misplaced in here. I mean, you should see it during an actual surgery. There's just shit flying all around. But I'm sure we will find that leg kicking around here somewhere. Because it's yeah, we'll find that leg. Guys, keep an eye out for it was a leg, right? A leg, you know, thigh, knee, shin, foot, the whole deal. Anyways, as they're leaving for the weekend, Bill gets word that a man named Kurt called and said that something horrible has happened at the country home, which is apparently where Bill conducts his experiments. So Bill races up there, putting the pedal to the metal, and eventually they crash. Bill flies out of the car and rolls down a hill with minimal injuries. When he gets back to the car, which is on fire, it appears Jan was not as lucky, and he uses his coat to reach in and grab something from inside, seemingly leaving Jan to burn. After running for a while, Bill gets to the house, but he just hates stairs so much that he's really gotta dig deep in order to get up those stairs and get into the house and show us what he's got hidden inside that jacket of his. And just hang on a second. This is the country home? That is not a country home. That is a country castle. I was expecting like a cottage or some shit. This place probably has its own drawbridge. It's interesting watching these old movies and just seeing the differences, from back then compared to now. This movie is 60 years old. And back then, the country home, and the summer home, the winter home. I think a lot of people in my generation just the idea of just owning another home is just hilarious. It's like going to the grocery store and just going to the regular aisle or the regular checkout lane instead of the 10 items or less lane. That is like a flex in itself, Hey, that's right. 20 items. Did well this month. So he goes into the country palace and Kurt is like, hey, what's inside the jacket? And Bill is like, God damn it, Kurt, I don't have time to tell you. I have to get to work right away. And after a really long time of messing around with tubes and shit, it's finally revealed that, oh my God, it's Jan's head. Yes, Jan's head was cut off during the accident, and Bill's first thought was, well, I can work with this. Which, you really got to admire that optimism, sometimes just getting up in the morning, immediately I'm just like, I really don't want to do today in general. So Jan is somehow able to speak bits and pieces about how she remembers fires and to please let her die. I'm just amazed that after everything, she still looks great. She was in a car accident, horribly burned, head cut clean off and wrapped up in a jacket, and her makeup isn't even smudged in the slightest. That's probably more impressive than Bill managing to keep the head alive. So Bill says that he's going to transplant her head onto a new body.
Transplant her to what?
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
Which I think would be kind of a frustrating experience, Because it's not like there's going to be a lot of options out there. It's not like shopping for shoes. You're pretty much going to have to go with whatever you can get. And it might be a long time before you can get anything. And the body that you do end up getting could be a huge pain in the ass. What if it doesn't fit any of your clothes? Then you got to buy all new clothes. What if the body has a tattoo on it that you don't like? And then every single time someone mentions it, you have to come up with a story about how it's something you got when you were in college and you don't really want to pay the money to have it removed. Plus, it would probably take a few sessions before it was fully gone, and maybe in the future, but right now you just got too much shit going on. I will say that what would be nice is if you got the body of someone who was, really in shape, or at least skinnier than you, because then for at least a week, you could eat like a total slob and really not feel that guilty about it. That'd be fun. So I wanted to mention here, obviously in this shot, they just stuck her head through the table, but then they cut to a wide, and I appreciate that they wanted to try this, but this fake head would have looked a lot better if they would have made it with the eyes closed, not just for continuity purposes because her eyes are supposed to be closed here, but just because this looks really fake. Anyways, Kurt is like, hey, not to take away from your fiance's severed head, but you gotta look inside of this closet. It's the reason why I called you in the first place. So Bill takes a look inside and he's horrified by whatever is in there, but he's like, keep it locked, I can't worry about that now. I gotta figure out what to do with my fiance's head. And in a way, I kind of feel bad for Bill, because I know it's easy for things to spiral out of control, First you start off by wanting to be a surgeon, and then you do a few amputations, then you try some transplants, and before you know it, you're talking to a severed head on a table and you got a monster locked in the closet. See, this is why I never wanted to be a doctor growing up. This exact situation.
Got to find her a body.
How are you going to go about getting one? Bill, how will you do it?
There are ways.
So Bill goes to this bar where there's this dancer, and let's just be real here. He's not shopping for a body for his fiancée. It's for him, okay? And he knows it. Because even if she complains to him, like, really, Bill? This is the body you ended up picking out? The one with massive breasts? He's just gonna be like, well, yeah, this is all I could find. There's not a lot of people out there willing to give up their body, believe it or not. Where else would you want me to look, Jan? The cemetery? I think we both know you wouldn't be happy with any of the bodies in there because they're all wrinkled and old and gross. And I don't want to do that much digging. The shovel gives me blisters. You know that. So Bill starts flirting with the dancer. Then we have this scene where the other dancer comes in, Bill leaves, and the two girls start fighting each other.
Meow.
Yeah, see, they added that in because it's a cat fight. You get it? I really don't know why the movie spent so much time on this scene, because you got a severed head and a monster going on. That is much more interesting to me than some bad dialogue.
What makes you think you had it? He would have you on it, Beth.
Says who?
Says me. What's a guy like that want with leftovers for?
Leftovers?
It's also interesting how hairy her arm managed to get in a tenth of a second. So now Jan is communicating with the monster, coming up with a plan to get revenge on Bill. But then Kurt comes in and he's like, hey, come on now. Bill isn't such a bad guy. I mean, yes, he's kept you alive even though you don't want to be. And yes, he's keeping another person he experimented on locked in a closet. And yes, he gave me a deformed hand, but he's trying. And I'm sure right now he's out there working very hard with your best interest in mind. Jan then tells him that because of the liquid that Bill is pumping into her head, she has a secret power where she is able to telepathically communicate with the monster behind the door. I don't know how that works, but okay. Kurt gets freaked out and leaves the room, where he runs into Bill, who has just arrived home. And he's like, Bill, she's got special powers now, man. And Bill's like, dude, I don't have time for this. I am exhausted. Do you even know how much a night of boozing and floozing takes out of you? I'm going to bed because I've got another big day ahead of me of driving around and checking out women's bodies. So the next day, while he's doing that, he runs into his friend Donna, who tells him about this swimsuit competition that he should come watch right now. And he's like, well, that sounds like a ton of work, but I love Jan so much I owe it to her to really see what's out there in terms of female bodies. And that's exactly what happens. They go to the competition, and the whole time Bill is like, God damn, these women all look great. I could decapitate either one of them. But then Donna reminds him of the nicest female body she's ever seen, Doris, a girl they went to school with, who these days just spends all of her time inside of her studio posing for art classes. And Bill is like, that's perfect, I could kill her. Somehow Jan is able to hear his thoughts. I guess this is one of her magic powers now, which really makes no sense, but then again, I'm talking about a movie about a severed head and a monster in a closet, so let's just keep going. Bill goes over to Doris's studio. Doris isn't thrilled to see Bill, or any man for that matter, because a guy once messed up her face.
I'm not on the make for you.
Okay, so maybe you're better than most. Maybe not. I still hate all men.
And Bill is like, that's okay, I only need your body. I mean, I see only beauty in you. You can trust me. I'm a doctor and totally not crazy. And my dad can do surgery on your face to make it look good as new.
I'm gonna make your face beautiful again. Cut it off and give your body away.
So Doris is like, okay, you're kind of funny, so I guess I trust you. But my friend is coming over later. I better call her and tell her that I'm leaving to fix my face. And Bill's like, no, don't touch that phone! I mean, she's just going to ask a bunch of questions, and nobody likes questions. Here, you get changed and I'll leave a note for her. Kurt comes downstairs to feed the monster and starts arguing with Jan. And once he opens up the feeding door, Jan tells the monster to grab him. And he's like, oh God, no, that's my good arm.
Kill him!
Well. Not too long ago, you were pretty anti-murder, Jan. And now it seems you're just as bloodthirsty as the rest of us. But I can't lie. If I could telepathically control a monster, I would probably have it get rid of some people. You would too, admit it. Then Bill and Doris arrive. Of course, Doris thinks it's Bill's father who's going to be operating on her.
You mean he's not here now?
Oh, come on now, Doris. Do I look like a maniac who goes around killing girls? Now you've got to learn to trust people. You know, people like me, really.
See, now that's how you can tell someone isn't a murderer. If they tell you that people like them. Because a real murderer wouldn't care if people liked them. That's how they're able to go out and, do the murdering. See, now, me, a normal person, I couldn't go out and murder. For that very reason. I care what people think about me. I don't want to be known as Mark the murderer. That's no fun. Bill goes downstairs and sees Kurt's dead body, and he's like, oh my God, well, this is very inconvenient. I can't have Doris coming down here now. She's gonna see the blood all over the place and think that I'm too lazy to clean up after myself. So he puts a sheet over the body, because I guess that's better than nothing, and goes for what apparently cured everything in the 60s, alcohol. Seriously though, he puts something in the one drink that will knock Doris unconscious, and it works. But Jan is like, Bill, you can't do this. And Bill is like, look, you're gonna get a new body whether you like it or not. Now keep it shut while I sew you onto her. But right as he's about to make the first cut, Jan gets the monster to bang on the door, which distracts Bill, and the monster is able to grab his face when he gets close. And I just want to say, look at those hands. That alone is terrifying. Like, this guy could crush your skull single-handedly. It looks like he's wearing oven mitts with individual fingers. Somehow, the door just comes off the hinges, which I don't understand. Why couldn't the monster do this before? And holy crap, look at this guy. So there's a fight between Bill and the monster. The monster bites off a piece of him and carries Doris out of there. And that's the end of the movie. So, I don't know. It's kind of depressing. I mean, who do you root for in this movie? Jan? She just wanted to die the whole time. I'm actually kind of interested in the origin story of this monster. I mean, what the hell's going on here? Well, what kind of a transplant resulted in all of this? Like, how long has Bill been keeping this guy locked up in the basement? Think about it, right? Like, this guy's face is a total dog's breakfast. So Bill went from being a total gong show of a surgeon to keeping a severed head alive. It just seems like that kind of skill progression would take a long time. And what was the emergency? At the beginning of the movie, Kurt called Bill, like, hey, you gotta get down here, this shit's out of control. Well, what was it? The monster suddenly got uglier? What? Oh, this transplant, it didn't take. What transplant? The transplant of putting an eyeball in the guy's forehead? I am not a doctor, but I think if I had a shot to do something like that, I'd at least put the eyeball in the right spot. Now, one thing I want to point out is that from a technical aspect, the movie is okay. I was actually impressed with how it looks. I really didn't find many mistakes from a cinematography point of view. There might have been 2 or 3 shots that were slightly out of focus, but other than that, it looked great. And that actually surprised me, because a lot of the movies I watch for this show, especially the older, low-budget movies like this, are riddled with technical errors. Sometimes, I've watched movies where half of the shots in the movie have focus issues. And that stuff is always more noticeable when you're watching an HD transfer because it's high definition. The HD transfer of this movie was done from the original negative, which tells me that the original negative was kept in very good condition because the footage is really clean. There's minimal scratches, minimal degradation, which again is something I see a lot of with these older low-budget movies. That being said, the writing and the acting is pretty bad, but at the same time it's interesting just because of how weird it is. And that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Where do you guys get those little surgery caps? I need a new one. I lost mine. I also need a new surgery smock. Lost that too. This is just my doctor's coat. I'm just wearing it backwards. And, yeah, I'm kind of worried because I don't want to get it dirty, you know? Also, the patients are naked under the surgical gown, right? So, like, you know, we're all friends here. You can tell me. Any of you ever snuck a peek just to see what they're working with? You know, let's say I was getting surgery, right? Would any of you just take a quick look? And that would totally be okay, right? Like, it's not a big deal, you know. But you would all tell me what you thought, right? You know, don't be afraid to just get in there. I shouldn't be giving that advice. I'm not a doctor. It looks like he's wearing oven mitts with individual fingers. It looks like Kawhi Leonard palming a basketball. I also wouldn't want Kawhi Leonard grabbing my face like that. His hands are huge. So they wheel him out and into the recovery room where I hope they give him some nice drugs. I mean, I don't know, for any of you out there who have had surgeries before, I've had a few surgeries. And it seems like every time they're giving me something new. I actually asked them if they were going to give me the stuff that they gave me for my last surgery, which was like 15 years ago. And they said, no, we'd never give anybody those painkillers again. No, that drug, apparently the toxicity was way too high, so they had to shut it down.